There were some ideas that fell by the wayside, as there always are, that we were really looking forward to exploring. One of them was this, what we call the super facehugger, which was a facehugger that carried the embryo of the queen alien. And we designed it so that it would reflect the armor-plated exoskeletal quality of the queen, but transposing that onto the facehugger body design. It was really a beautiful thing, and it was cut from the film with the Bambi burster and ox sequence. And unfortunately, I think it kind of was important to show that it was a queen alien that was inside Sigourney.
My recollection of the whole Bambi burster sequence was this, the whole set, the abattoir, the set with we had done this beautiful looking replica ox that's hanging up and split open.
Basically, what it is that there is an ox has died outside. You know, I think it was one of the oxes that was pulling the Ripley's EEV out of the water, and they bring it in and they're just going to slaughter it, and out of its belly, you know, comes this creature that is sort of like a four-legged chest burster. And the idea was to get across that whatever the creature gestates inside, it takes on some of the attributes of that host. So in this case, legs would be prominent. So it had very long, kind of spindly, Bambi-like legs, which is why Fincher called it the Bambi burster. We built a fake ox. We built stomach sections that could bulge and, you know, burst open with air cannons full of blood and goo, as well as a creature projectile that would come out in sort of a embryo kind of sac, you know, and hit the ground and then, you know, open up and stand there and, you know, do its thing. And then we also built a rod puppeted version of the creature that was able to take a few steps.
We were dressing all this stuff with real guts that would come, you know, daily, come from the butcher shop, and I just remember the smell of this place was just so overpowering. And we had this whole thing set up on a big long rod, and it all extended, you know, out the back of this ox carcass. So from camera point of view, it all made sense. But from the side, if you saw it from the side, it had the big long pole. And I remember at one point I was reaching up and trying to be blocked by this ox body and shove this pole through and have it come out and aim for the camera and not go off center, and take after take after take. It was excruciating. The smell and the heat from the lights just making the smell worse, and just trying to jam this thing through. And there were so many takes where it would come off slightly off center. It would just come out and kind of hang up here in space and bobble. And every time that happened, we had to pull it back in. We had to redress the ox. We had to clean up the blood because we always had blood and guts and all this other stuff bursting out of it. So that was a huge ordeal. So to find out later that it was cut from the movie, you just feel like, wow, I had so much invested in that scene. So I'm dying to see the scene put back in.
We also tried a suit for a whippet. The suit looked great, but the dog really wasn't too thrilled about wearing the head.
Come on, sweetie, come on. Would you like some sponge? Come on.
A long time ago, David Fincher said that we should put a dog in a suit, just for coverage, just for a shot, quick shot in the dark, up real high, and the creature's running away, and there's in shadows, and everything would be fine.
He wanted us to get some unusual organic movement, just as Tom said, to help layer the effect.
What we had to do is we had to cut the front half of the head out so the dog could see, and it was only good for shots from behind.
Oh yeah, that's gonna work.
It was so silly looking. I mean, it was the dailies were like you were on the floor because they were so stupid looking. I mean, and once in a while you do something like that it's just so dumb. I mean, I've done it many times. I mean, you know, you try an idea and it just sucks.
It didn't work as well as we'd hoped it would. It was sort of like the dog would kind of, you know, walk kind of like he was I don't know, a little bit spastic or something. We slimed him up too, and I don't know. The whole thing was it was funny, but it didn't have the desired horrific effect. So that one was never going to make it. But then anyway, when the scene was changed, we rebuilt aspects of it, built Rottweilers, same sort of pieces, but with a Rottweiler and a new Bambi burster. There were also some other effects in there that didn't quite make it in the way that we had hoped. There was a kind of a CAT scan of Ripley that I think is on a monitor in a shot, but it shows her internal organs as well, beating heart with a little queen alien embryo right nestled next to her heart, and it has a beating heart too.
We did 4 separate layers that were all keyed in, so we could lay the first layer down, which was the inside of the back with the back of the rib cage and the spine, and then we'd lay the next section in, which was internal organs, 1 layer of internal organs. Then we had a second layer of internal organs, which also had the little puppet of the embryo chest burster inside, tucked up right next to our heart. And then we had a top level which had the rib cage over top of that. So when all of these things were done in separate passes, then combined, Richard Hollander did a pass where everything was combined, and as the camera moved off axis, you got this wonderful 3D feel. And then the whole image was degraded down into monochromatic and given a kind of a digital feeling, so it was like some kind of a body scan readout that she was seeing.
It was a beautiful, beautiful shot, but it never really went in and showed you in the kind of detail that we had built into it. And there was a similar effect where, with a CAT scan of a X-ray view of a facehugger tubule snaking its way down a human throat, and we did a real cool little tendril that had bladders in it and was transparent, and it was very, very organic and very creepy looking. But that one I don't think made it into the final cut in any form.
When Ripley brings Bishop back up, powers him up again, gets some information from him, that was probably one of my favorite effects, because we really got to take something that was a cool character, the Lance Henriksen character, and to do him in such a way that had not been done before as a total animatronic. And here's the talking Bishop. Well, the first aborted try. Boy, do we have some stories for you about that.
Tom and I really wanted to do it not as a makeup. We wanted to do an animatronic version of Bishop with his head caved in. We wanted to do something that you could not do with makeup. So we decided to say, all right, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be it's going to be a sculpture. It's going to be an animatronic, and it's going to take a close up like this.
Fincher was saying, look at real stuff. Look at some of the most grisly things that are in the public's mind, and he cited the assassination of President Kennedy, the Zapruder film, as being a really horrendous image, and we took that to heart, and we incorporated that feeling in terms of the damage that's done to this character.
We didn't have a current head cast of Lance Henriksen, so we found one from Aliens, did a clay press out of that, and then Dave Anderson, who is our sculptor on that project, resculpted it to update it and crush the head in and all that stuff.
We devastated a great deal of his head, but we still wanted to keep him recognizable. And we didn't do anything to his lips because we wanted his lips to be able to convey all of the emotion, since there was so much damage to the rest of his face. And ultimately, that made it a big challenge for us to articulate lips and make them move realistically.
We built one in London that was mostly cable operated, that didn't have all the finesse that we really needed for the close-ups.
The first time out of the gate, honestly, when we did it in London, the results were not good. We didn't have the mechanical expertise at that time to get where we wanted to go with articulating these lips. And ultimately what we did when we were in London was the head that we created was shot, all the 2 shots of Sigourney and and the animatronic head were captured in London. And then when we came back here to the States, we were able to go back and totally rebuild the whole face. And we moved to a translucent urethane skin. We had radio servos inside. We had one of the early motion control systems that were capable of recording playback of an animatronic character based on lip sync dialogue. And we felt that we got all of those beats down properly and actually locked in a performance of these lips, which sounds like such a simple thing, but the truth is, it was, at the time, it was a big thing. It was, it had rarely been done before, and especially with the advances that we were trying to make in synthetic skins and the performance of the puppet, it was a big chore to pull off, and took some time.
Playback.
It's okay. Just took a look at my toaster. How are you? I like your new haircut.
Got it. Very nice.
Sometimes the alien isn't in the shot when we're doing special effect shots, and they'll add in this remarkable, moving, slithering alien later. And I think those are the hardest shots because you're sort of, you ask the director, well, now, what's it going to do, and who's it going to look at, and what's it going to be doing, and how long, and how fast. And then you have to sort of basically imagine it. Luckily, those shots really aren't for us. They're to put the alien in, and we're sort of in the background. So theoretically, when we've needed an alien when it's on us, then, an alien creature does come in and is off camera for us quite a bit of the time.
To make a rubber suit like this, we start off with a body cast of the actor playing the creature. In this case, it's Tom. And we, through various processes of mold making, we arrive at a fiberglass casting of the body of the actor, onto which we sculpt the form of the creature. And then we make a negative mold of that, and eventually we end up running foam rubber over leotards, unitard suits with zippers up the back. And then, of course, the head goes on top of that, and the hands are separate pieces, as are the feet and the tail.
Okay, let's bring the mirror back that way so we can project a flatter shadow.
Sometimes David is just shooting shapes behind a plastic curtain or a shadow on the wall, and it's the actual cosmetic look is not very critical at that point. It's just getting the suit on so it's got the right silhouette, and that takes maybe half an hour. But if it's going to be like a real beauty shot where you're seeing the creature, then we've got to start gluing down the hands and the feet, almost like a cosmetic blend. It has to be glued down, and then we stipple latex over the top of that and rub some of that off to give it the appearance of the sloughing skin. And the head gets glued down. Everything gets glued down, and all of that, and fitting the head. If it's a cable-operated head, which has all the movement of the face and the jaw and everything, it can take up to an hour just to get everything looking the way we want it to look before we go on set.
We have several different heads for the adult alien, starting with the most crude and basic. We have our stunt heads, which essentially don't do anything but look good, and they're more flexible and so on, so there's nothing inside them that's going to shatter and injure a stuntman or Tom. We also have our expression head, which is a cable-operated head, which gives us all our snarling and drooling and the finer articulation. We have a radio control head, which essentially does the same thing as the cable head, although it's a little less refined. It is able to give us expressions without having to have cables trailing off of the creature for those shots where you need to see more of it and so on. And then finally we have the attack head, which is the head that does the dirty work, the killing and biting. It's a pneumatic apparatus that fires a heavy tongue, polyester tongue out of the head and punches holes in the victim's skulls.
I do have an odd relationship with the alien. The Tom, the person who plays the alien, is a very funny fellow, and a real wisecracker. And yet when he's in the suit, I've told him this, I just think he's brilliant. You know, I feel like he's become an actor doing this job because he's so in touch with this creature's, you know, I mean, they say that if you work from the outside in and you take on all the traits of someone, you become that person. That's one way of working on a role, and I think that's what's happened to Tom.
It's the final opportunity we have to present this thing on screen the way we really want it to look. We can sculpt this thing, design and sculpt a creature, and manufacture the pieces, and you put it on a stuntman, and it's out of your control. It may look good, but if it's not moving right or moving the way we intend it to move, you're going to lose the benefit of what we had in mind. So this is like the final chance. I'm in the suit, and Alec can stand back and look at it, and we've talked about the way the creature should move and the way it should look. It's like that's our final chance to tie everything up.
There was one scene where I confront the alien directly with my torch and everything, and I thought that Tom was very, I mean, considering the fact that he can't really see me, I thought he was really being very specific and good that day. And one time I went around the corner and I heard Fincher talking to Tommy. Apparently he could talk directly into this earpiece, and he was saying, "You hate that bitch, you hate that bald bitch, get her, there's that torch again, you hate that torch even more than her, all right, get her this time," you know, and it was like he was just whipping Tom into this lather of hatred, you know, and it was wonderful.
I know on the first, on Alien 3, the first time I put the alien suit on, and you're putting this thing on, it's just thin foam rubber, you're looking down, you're going, hey, the alien's got love handles. And we decided, you know what, for the next, you know, we didn't have to shoot for a couple of months. I'm just gonna eat crackers and vegetables, and that's what I'm gonna stick to. And so there was, that was the first time where I had to really kind of run backwards a little bit and try to get caught up with where I should have been.
Tom, more. Yeah, more. Get that. More head movement, Tom.
For Tom's vision and his breathing, what we did was we designed into the neck eye holes and air holes. Tom's head is actually in the neck of the creature. So, you know, you cut little holes, put some screen across it, that sort of thing. There really isn't the room in these to do the more sophisticated, you know, goggles and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Plus the slime and all that. You want to have as few electronics in the thing as possible.
And action. A little bit high, but still not bad, is it? Better. You went a little bit high.
Yeah, that's better anyway.
Bring him down. Whoa.
There have been times when I've been glued into suits for hours at a time, much longer than we would legitimately ask a stuntman or another performer to do, just because I'm just aware of every time you go in and out of a suit, there's damage done to the suit. There's wear and tear that's put on things, and I'm willing to go into things for you know, 8 hours, 10 hours. I think the longest I was ever in a suit, glued into a suit, was for a long 13-hour day from start to finish.
I gotta have the head like that.
Okay, he wants to face down at the floor, Tom. Just let him turn his head.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to reorient it so he can keep his face up and see what he's grabbing onto. You know what I'm saying? For the shadow.
Well, he's not going to be able to see. He will not be able to see. No, he cannot see.
Well, can we do this? Can we just
What is it you're trying to get?
trying to get the head at an angle like this?
And what else? Because you've got the head at that angle, right?
Okay, but
Look,
we're gonna
look
be
down,
able
Tom.
Yeah, I see.
And what does he have to see?
He's just gotta grab the guy and just like
Okay, well maybe he can do it by feeling. You know, maybe he can
grab me. Okay, grab my head. Okay. Take your hands down. Now grab my head. Faster. There we go. And it's Okay, now head up a bit. Okay, now do the grab. And then he's gonna be holding him like this. And the guy's gonna be like that kind of stuff.
Do you want him on the roster, or is it fine?
We're gonna need him on, I don't know.
We had such a great relationship with Fincher that it made it very pleasant. He knows exactly what he wants. He communicates it very well, and he pushes you. You know, you look at his body of work and you say, okay, I've got to be up to snuff with what this guy does, and that's always a healthy thing. You know, I think you have to always want to excel. If you're just doing the same thing over and over again, then you're not improving, and you're probably sliding backwards, but you're not aware of it. So I think Fincher was very good at motivating at least us, to get the best out of us.